So CNN is basically lying about the fact that Pete Buttigieg supposedly won the Iowa caucuses. If you don't know, last night and tonight, CNN is doing a series of town halls with some of the people running for the Democratic nomination. And tonight, Bernie Sanders was on from 8 till 9 and Buttigieg on from 9 till 10. And it just so happens that around 9 p.m., the Iowa Democratic Party released more results, and then CNN went live on air as soon as Pete Buttigieg came up and announced that Pete Buttigieg, with quote-unquote 100% of the results reporting, has been declared the winner in Iowa because he leads with 2 state delegate equivalent points more than Bernie Sanders. And CNN is also running that on their website as we speak. But again, that is not true. There's 2 glaring issues there, really 3. First, we already decided on this channel that Bernie Sanders won. That Bernie Sanders, with the 6,000 vote lead in terms of popular vote, has the far better claim to victory and a far better claim as to what Iowa represents going forward, because popular vote and your ability to get first place support is ultimately what matters in almost every single primary going forward. But more than that, not all the results are in. 99.9% are in, and that sounds awfully close to 100, but 99.9 isn't 100. 100 means every single precinct as reported, and that has not happened yet. If you look at most of the websites that do the calculations, there are still outstanding votes. And as it exists right now, given the close nature of the race, even that small 0.1% could literally make all the difference in terms of who wins that statewide delegate equivalent number between Bernie and Buttigieg. To basically say Pete has won with 100% of the vote is grossly irresponsible on the part of CNN. But more than that, other more responsible, more respectable news agencies have refused to make such a claim at this stage, given the fact that we don't have the information and given the fact that there are various irregularities in the data which largely show that Bernie Sanders likely has a couple more statewide delegates than he currently does and may well end up winning. So the Associated Press, often the gold standard when it comes to the sort of news agencies that make these sorts of predictions. You know, when you look to the presidential election night, the real showstopper is when the Associated Press decides to say, we are ready to make a projection that person A or person B will be the next president of the United States. They are the ones that have such influence there. And what they are saying right now is that due to the fact that it's so close and due to these irregularities, we do not feel comfortable making a projection about who is going to win in terms of statewide delegate equivalents. They cannot make that claim. And NBC News is saying the exact same thing, that because of the close nature, because of the irregularities, they are not comfortable saying that Pete Buttigieg or Bernie Sanders has won that statewide delegate equivalent number at this stage again. So this really does show how CNN, in a rash and irresponsible manner, went out there and gave Pete Buttigieg the narrative victory yet again because they don't want to see Bernie Sanders win. We saw the last debate, which was hosted by CNN, and how blatantly rigged it was against Bernie Sanders, how the moderators were rigged against Bernie Sanders, how the questions were rigged against Bernie Sanders, how every single thing was tilted to try to stop Bernie Sanders and his momentum and his vision from reaching people in a clear and unbiased manner. So it does not surprise me that CNN would do whatever it takes to hurt Bernie Sanders by maybe helping Pete Buttigieg declare victory, even though there's no reasonable basis for that claim right now, given what other news agencies have said. This was 100% timed, perhaps by a cooperation between the Iowa Democrats, maybe also the DNC, and CNN to release those results just before Pete Buttigieg was to go live nationally, internationally really, on CNN and basically allow the town hall moderators to say, "Congratulations, Pete. According to 100% of the results, you have narrowly defeated Bernie Sanders. How do you feel?" And again, that's not the case, and I'm still very confident that Bernie's going to win the statewide delegates when all of the irregularities have been ironed out. But this is just yet another example, guys. And I sort of feel sick talking about Iowa controversies right now, if I'm being honest. But we have to keep talking about it. This is another example about how they're doing everything they can to try to stop Bernie Sanders from getting any narrative momentum. And they're hoping, they're praying that by lying about Pete Buttigieg's supposed victory, that they can push him past Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire or narrow the gap, preventing Bernie Sanders from growing his base, preventing Bernie Sanders from rising in the national polls. Also, they can stop him. And Pete Buttigieg is the mechanism for this scam, and he's happy to play that role. Bernie Sanders needs our support. We need to channel the anger we rightfully have into donating, volunteering, canvassing, phone banking. If you're a media creator like myself, create that content, share it, share your passion, share your indignation in a constructive way. Get Bernie Sanders every single last goddamn delegate you can, from New Hampshire into the very last primary and very last caucus. Because given what we've seen from the Democratic Party, from Pete Buttigieg, and from the media, they will not allow Bernie Sanders to enjoy his well-deserved victory unless we make it impossible for them to rig it by giving Bernie Sanders a huge margin of delegates when the convention comes around. That's our task. Let's get out and do it. Bernie won Iowa. Bernie's going to win New Hampshire. Bernie's going to win the nomination. Bernie's going to be president.